Welcome to the informative channel. Today we will discuss Islamophobia and its effects, and will cover many informative points in detail. Define Islamophobia as an irrational fear or hatred toward Islam and Muslims. Trace how the term evolved, especially with the rise in global terrorism incidents and increased media focus on Islam. Highlight the socio-political landscape that influences this bias and mention how media and political factors contribute to shaping modern Islamophobia. Understanding Islamophobia. 1. Historical roots. Medieval misconceptions. In medieval Europe, Islam was seen as a rival religion. Misunderstandings and prejudices grew through events like the Crusades, where Muslims were framed as infidels. Colonialism and Orientalism. European powers used stereotypes to justify colonialism in Muslim-majority regions, portraying Muslims as barbaric or exotic. This created lasting stereotypes. Modern conflicts. Events such as 9/11 and subsequent war on terror campaigns reinvigorated old prejudices and created a framework where Islam was associated with extremism. 2. Modern definitions and forms. Define Islamophobia as a blend of personal prejudice, institutional discrimination, and systematic policies that affect Muslims' lives. Explain how Islamophobia manifests as interpersonal discrimination, workplace prejudice, or even governmental surveillance programs targeting Muslim communities. 3. Triggers of Islamophobia. Global events. Acts of terrorism committed by extremist groups often lead to collective blame on Muslims worldwide. Media narratives. Discuss how selective media reporting can amplify stereotypes about Muslims as violent or backward. Political rhetoric. Many political figures use Islamophobic language to gain votes or support, fueling negative perceptions of Islam. Global prevalence of Islamophobia. 1. Islamophobia in Western countries. United States. After 9/11, policies like the Patriot Act led to increased surveillance of Muslims. Hate crimes rose, and anti-Muslim rhetoric became more mainstream. Europe. Discuss the banning of hijabs in France, anti-mosque protests, and refugee-related Islamophobia in countries like Germany and the UK. Policies and sentiment. Examine how Western policies, such as immigration bans, reinforce Islamophobia and heighten public distrust. 2. Islamophobia in non-Western contexts. India. Political tensions have fostered Islamophobic sentiments, impacting laws and social treatment of Muslims. Myanmar and China. Discuss the plight of the Rohingya in Myanmar and the Uyghur Muslims in China, both suffering from severe Islamophobic persecution. Cultural context. Explain how Islamophobia takes on different cultural forms but results in similar discrimination. 3. Comparison across regions. Emphasize the difference in Islamophobic attitudes worldwide based on cultural, historical, and religious factors, yet recognize the common pattern of prejudice. Effects of Islamophobia on individuals and communities. 1. Psychological and emotional impact. Mental health. Islamophobia often leads to stress, anxiety, and depression among Muslims who experience discrimination. Identity crisis. Many Muslims, especially the youth, struggle with their religious and cultural identity due to societal stigma. 2. Economic and social consequences. Employment discrimination. Muslims may face challenges finding jobs or promotions due to Islamophobic bias. Housing and education barriers. Discrimination can limit access to quality housing and schools, trapping communities in cycles of disadvantage. 3. Physical safety and hate crimes. Rising hate crimes. Anti-Muslim violence, such as attacks on mosques or individuals wearing Islamic attire, has increased. Community response. Many Muslim communities have created support networks to help individuals cope and recover from these incidents. Societal and cultural impact of Islamophobia. 1. Polarization of societies. Social division. Islamophobia drives a wedge between Muslims and non-Muslims, fostering mistrust and resentment. Impact on cohesion. Such divisions make it difficult to achieve a harmonious, integrated society where diverse communities live side by side. 2. The role of media and social media. Misinformation. Sensationalism in traditional media can fuel Islamophobia. Social media can amplify hate but also offer a space for Muslims to share positive stories. Case studies, examples of viral stories that have led to public backlash against Muslims and those that have promoted understanding. 3. Impact on cultural diversity and inclusion efforts. Challenges for multiculturalism. Islamophobia undermines efforts to promote diversity, pushing Muslims out of the cultural mainstream. Public spaces. Discuss limitations on Muslim attire in public spaces as an example of reduced inclusivity. Efforts to combat Islamophobia. 1. International and national policies. Global efforts. Highlight the United Nations initiatives and EU policies aimed at curbing Islamophobia. Anti-discrimination laws. Examples of countries implementing policies to protect against religious discrimination. 2. Community initiatives and interfaith dialogue. Grassroots movements. Many local organizations host interfaith events to build bridges and foster understanding. Success stories. Share examples of community programs that have effectively reduced Islamophobia. 3. Legal and human rights organizations. Key players. Organizations like CARE, Human Rights Watch, and Amnesty International work on protecting Muslims' rights and advocating for anti-Islamophobia policies. Impact. These groups offer legal assistance, support, and policy recommendations to reduce Islamophobic practices. Islamophobia and its effects on youth and future generations. 1. Challenges for Muslim youth in identity formation. Identity struggles. Young Muslims often feel caught between their religious identity and societal expectations. Belonging and self-perception. Islamophobia can make youth feel alienated and unsure about their place in society. 2. Impact on education and career choices. Bias in education. Schools may show bias, affecting Muslim students' academic performance. Career limitations. Fear of discrimination can impact career decisions, limiting opportunities for economic advancement. 3. Future generations. Breaking the cycle. Youth advocacy. Young Muslims are increasingly vocal, working to correct stereotypes and raise awareness. Positive trends. Examples of progress toward anti-Islamophobia efforts and greater understanding among young generations. Islamophobia in the digital age. 1. Online hate speech and Islamophobia. Social media algorithms. These can sometimes promote inflammatory content, exacerbating Islamophobia. Cyberbullying. Online harassment against Muslims, especially youth, and its psychological toll. 2. Islamophobia in gaming and entertainment. Stereotypes in media. Common tropes in movies, TV, and video games that portray Muslims negatively. Positive representation efforts. Discuss movements to promote accurate representation of Muslims in media. 3. Countering digital Islamophobia. Influences and advocates. Muslim influencers who work to break down stereotypes and share positive stories. Successful campaigns. Highlight social media campaigns that have improved public perception of Islam. Islamophobia and global politics. 1. Political rhetoric and election campaigns. Election influence. Islamophobic rhetoric often peaks during elections, exploiting fears for political gain. Impact on policy. How election rhetoric influences policies that marginalize Muslim communities. 2. Foreign policies and international relations. Diplomatic tensions. Islamophobia constrain relations between Muslim majority and Western countries. Security concerns. Explain how Islamophobia influences international security policies and visa restrictions. 2. Terrorism and security narratives. War on terror. The narrative that associates Islam with terrorism and its impact on Muslims globally. Balanced policies. The need for security policies that do not unfairly target Muslims or compromise civil liberties. Conclusion is summarize the major effects of Islamophobia on individuals, communities, and society. Offer a hopeful perspective on how interfaith dialogue, community advocacy, and responsible media can combat Islamophobia. Emphasize the importance of creating a society based on respect, understanding, and equality for all. Thanks for watching the video.